midwinter, we start to learn about that. So that can be really positive for schools as well with Proposition EE. Proposition 116 was the state income tax rate reduction. That passed. And that reduces the state income tax rate from 4.63% to 4.55. The proponents of that say, hey, this is going to boost consumer spending. There's going to be a little more discretionary income for people. Maybe that turns into more sales tax revenue, et cetera, statewide. And then, of course, opponents say, well, this weakens dollars available for government services. And in our situation, government services means state equalization. So we'll wait and see. Well, who knows exactly right now. Proposition 117 is that it was kind of confusing, at least to me. The voter approval for the fee-based enterprises. Basically, in essence, that was designed to try and close some of those loopholes around the Tabor laws. So remember the hospital provider fee. A few years ago, we talked a lot about hospital provider fee. That was kind of a way to generate some tax revenue for schools, in kind of a roundabout way, around the Tabor requirements. All right, so this tries to close down that loophole a little bit. Who knows how this will impact schools, if it will at all. And then Proposition 118, the paid family and medical leave insurance program. The information I have right now is that this won't impact schools. Right? Who knows? But there might be something interesting in that individuals may be able to opt into this. And so this is a wait and see. We already are impacted by the Family Medical Leave Act, the Coronavirus Relief Act, and then the Healthy Families and Workplaces Act, which will kick in January as far as paid leave requirements for staff and employees. So don't know if this will actually impact schools at all, at least 118. If you flip to the next page, now that the election is done, the legislature, even though not in session, is starting to fire some bills around. And one that's at least early on potentially impactful to schools is a seizure bill draft. And this would require basically signed seizure action plans for students that may need assistance in schools with seizure-related care, and have parents submit plans, schools required to provide training to staff to deal with seizures, and the initial feedback from other districts in our Pikes Peak Alliance, our lobbyist group, that nurses at districts are already saying, hey, we already do this. Why do we need legislation for it? This is already happening. So we'll just keep our eyes on it. Oftentimes these things come with a fiscal note. And, if we're already doing it, we probably don't want to see a fiscal note attached to something we already do. It's going to cost more money. But we'll wait and see. There are rumors that this, again, just rumors that this legislative session that will start in January will extend like last year or this year, I guess last spring. Remember last spring, all of a sudden, we were faced with a legislative session that went deep into June. And there's already talk that with the pandemic ongoing, potentially the start of the session could be altered. And we could be looking at decisions around the School Finance Act well into June. So, it seems like a long ways away, but that's going to be on us pretty quickly. On the School Finance Act, I'll jump into the attachment here in a second. And I'll jump to the second bullet, the coronavirus relief funds. We talked a little bit about with Tom Sester. An additional little chunk of money came in our October equalization of about $53,000 of coronavirus relief funds. And there's been a pretty good fight going on, initiated in part by our Pikes Peak Association of School Business Officials in the state of Colorado, because that $53,000 came in lieu of $53,000 of state equalization. This is federal money. So we got our same payment in October as we would have received, but now this chunk of money has to be coded differently and spent a little bit differently. Basically, adjusting what we had in our budget. So there's an arm wrestling match going on with how and why that got rolled out. Will the reporting change? I don't think it will. basically the argument is, well, if there wasn't this money, your equalization would have gone down from the state. So anyway, we got some extra money and we have to code it and have it spent. Got it in October, we have to have it spent by December 30th, 53 grand. Minimum wage, it's waiting to hear, hopefully yesterday or today, if confirmed that it was going up to $12.32 in Colorado as of January 1. I don't know if anybody else has heard whether or not that was confirmed, but it was in the, whether they have the names for the periods, you know, the evaluation or comment period, I guess it was. It's supposed to be determined. So that would impact our budget mid-year, and then of course going forward as far as raising that by 32 cents. Now, if you go back up to the first bullet, and actually you can turn to the next page, which is the fiscal year 22 budget fact sheet. So we're talking next fiscal year. This is the governor's release as it pertains to K-12 education. And this went to the Joint Budget Committee today. This was a humongous surprise to see this. So, I don't know, let's say 6 weeks ago, we were expecting our fiscal year 22 budget to be down maybe about 10%. And this year we took a huge hit, so 10% from this year. Then the Department of Education said, well, things are actually a little bit better. We're going to propose more of about a 5% cut. Then this came out and indicates that the governor is allocating $811 million to K-12 public schools, which is about a 19% increase over 2021 levels. Now, I think one of the key notes here is that this is supposed to be one-time dollars in fiscal year 22. Have no idea where the money is coming from or the sustainability. And and so we're in this process of we're starting to try and plan our budget adjustment strategies for the next couple of years. And this throws a wrench in the whole process because we don't know if we're looking at a 10% cut really, or what in our runs would look like a 35% increase on our per pupil rate all over the place.
But they're showing it as one-time money. I mean, that's...
Yeah, right. There are a lot of questions. And so CDE has run our numbers for us. And yeah, it would take